Welcome to the Advanced Applications in Digital Text webcast. This has been prepared by Samuel Sennett and David McNaughton from the Pennsylvania State University. I'm Samuel Sennett. I'm a PhD candidate at Penn State, and I'm an assistive technology specialist with a master's degree in that discipline. I'm really excited to share with you about this topic. It's a very important one. Text empower students in so many different ways, and as we know that reading and access to text are fundamental to the school process. We're going to be considering a student we're going to call Sarah. She's about 13 years old, and she struggles to read fluently with comprehension and often has difficulty with various vocabulary and various concepts in texts that she reads. She has a strong desire to stay in the general education curriculum, where she's included for almost all of her day, and she becomes frustrated by this large amount of reading required in her classes. So we're going to think about how to help Sarah with her tasks around reading and comprehension. We can use two similar frameworks to help us consider Sarah's reading needs: Do It and Set. Let's take a look at how they're similar and how they're different. Do It stands for describe the goal, outline alternatives, identify needed resources and impact, take action, and celebrate progress and success. Set is similar, much shorter though: student, environment, task, and tools. Both of them are useful for different purposes. Let's take a look at how they're similar and different. Okay, getting started with Do It. D for describe the goal. Now this part is all about operationally defining the goal or the task at hand. Set looks at this and first evaluates the student and looks at their skills, abilities. Environment looks at the learning environment and the physical environment, and then the task is very similar to the D, describe the goal. It's operationally defining the task that's needed. So we can see that's fairly similar. Set adds a little bit more about the context. Moving on, Do It, the O is outline alternatives. This is where we're going to brainstorm about different tools and different strategies that can help meet that goal, or help better, in the Set framework, looking at the tools, help better meet those task needs. Set now compacts into one item, tools. Now that's where we're going to brainstorm, similar to the outline alternatives, but then also select those tools and implement them. Do It stretches it out, and we see the I, identify needed resources and impact. We're going to look at all the different variables around the resources we've outlined, about cost, training the student and the team, looking at how we can acquire these technologies. Moving on, T, take action. We're going to actually select the technologies now, identify responsibilities and roles for people to implement the intervention, and we're going to collect data where possible. And with take action, we're going to see how that combined with identifying the needed resources and outlining the alternatives equates in the Set frameworks tools section. So with that, whichever framework we use, this exclamation point at the end of Do It, it's really important to celebrate progress and success. And that can be thoughtfully done, where the student can take part in that as well. So we have Do It and Set, two great frameworks we can use to consider learners' needs. So as we're considering Sarah, we're going to look at describing the goal for Sarah. And again, with the Set framework, we'd be looking at the student, environment, and task. So we learned a little bit about Sarah, and the goal is for Sarah to be able to access the text in her curriculum with comprehension. Here we have a representative social studies text about the civil rights movement. This selection is specifically about the Montgomery bus boycott. When reading this text, Sarah's primary goal is comprehension. As Sarah struggles with parts of the reading process, she's receiving ongoing instruction to assist her. Yet, when she needs to process text for content and comprehension, she may need to utilize assistive technology. So, first we want to understand what comprehension is. And simple definition is that it's deriving meaning from text. And to break that down, we want to understand meaning in the proper context, integrate old and new information, and really understand what the author or speaker's purpose is in that text. From the national project, the Common Core Standards for Reading, we have two relevant standards. The first, I'll read word for word, to read closely to determine what the text says explicitly and to make logical inferences from it. Cite specific textual evidence when writing or speaking to support conclusions drawn from the text. Second item is determine central ideas or themes of a text and analyze their development. Summarize the key supporting details and ideas. And that really represents our definition of comprehension, that it's deriving meaning from text and putting it in context, bringing in background information to make it relevant, and then these standards really start to speak towards not only doing that, but then applying that. Research-based reading comprehension strategies have been identified by Michael Presley. Decoding skills, vocabulary knowledge, world knowledge, active use of comprehension strategies, and monitoring of comprehension. 1. Decoding is important to the comprehension process because if the reader is able to fluently recognize words, they'll be able to devote more cognitive processing to other comprehension tasks. We can directly provide systematic instruction in decoding and have a nice research and practice base to draw from in this domain. Vocabulary knowledge. This is the meaning processor. By understanding what words mean, we can use this knowledge in context to comprehend a text. We can directly teach vocabulary and also foster vocabulary learning through wide reading and learning experiences. World knowledge has to do with the background knowledge the reader brings to the reading experience. By providing students with increased levels of contextual information and teaching them how to draw upon and integrate it, we can assist them with the comprehension process. Next, we can teach students to actively use specific and general comprehension strategies. The classic example is the use of a story grammar structure, which would typically include at minimum an initiating event, an introduction of the problem to the characters, attempts at solving that problem, and some resolution. Readers can use a strategy like this to aid in comprehension. Monitoring comprehension. It's about checking in during the reading process to ensure that you're comprehending each part of the text and the text as a whole. This is all the more important when reading content area texts that quickly build upon themselves. So those are 5 reading comprehension strategies, and they're important to think about as we look at features of digital text. We have defined the goal for Sarah and now want to move on to outlining alternatives, or in the set, asking ourselves what tools can assist Sarah. We have a wide range of high-tech and light-tech tools to draw upon, as you can see in the visual from that tree. By matching our goal with appropriate tools, we can keep focused as we choose from a vast array of options. Based on the initial defining of the goal and a bit about Sarah, we can narrow our selection down to the domain of digital text tools, which you can see a few images highlighting those tools. When considering digital text tools, we can look for features that support the research-based comprehension strategies mentioned from Presley. For instance, with the component of decoding as a strategy. We can look for a digital text feature such as text-to-speech, which could be used to support practice and fluency-based practice experiences. With vocabulary, we could look for a digital text feature such as an onboard dictionary. World knowledge, we might be building context and experience through an adapted text to get started in a domain or in a content area. Active comprehension strategies, we may look for a digital text feature such as e-coaching. This is where we can embed support and prompts for those strategies we select, and we're teaching the reader. Monitoring comprehension. Digital text features can be rich with ways to support monitoring comprehension. One such is built-in note-taking. So as you can see, we can look thoughtfully at the research and at what we know works in practice, and then select tools that have features to support those strategies. So if your school administrator asks you, why use digital text? You can simply look them straight in the eye and say, they're cool. Just joking. A better answer might be that digital texts are more flexible, accessible, and versatile. Digital texts are a key element of universal design for learning. Digital texts are an important component of universal design for learning, or UDL. Universal design for learning is a concept that's all about preparing environments for the most amount of people. It's about creating tools for differentiating instruction for a wide range of learners. It's front-loading the environments with tools, environmental adaptations, and learning strategies to support learners with diverse needs. One of the key concepts of UDL is to provide multiple means of representation. Digital texts are a perfect way to provide those multiple means of representation. In order to further understand how digital text can be a way to support multiple means of representation, we can look at some of those features of digital text. Digital text can provide many different options for customizing the display of the text. They can offer auditory and visual supports. They can help clarify vocabulary and symbols. They have usually many options for multimedia incorporation and provide options for comprehension strategies, and very similar to what we talked about with the Presley work. This graphic here is meant to show a little bit about how digital text is flexible. And as you can see, we can change the text size, the text color, font. We can add supports like text-to-speech or onboard dictionaries. To sum up the benefits and features of digital text, we can look at that digital text can be displayed on a wide range of computers and mobile devices. It can be displayed in various ways, some of which we spoke about. It has powerful features like the ability to be turned into Braille or audio or text-to-speech. It can include important elements like structural and semantic tags for navigation and organization, and you can think about this as bookmarking tools and chapter heading tools to simplify. It can also include embedded learning supports, like some of the supports for comprehension and vocabulary strategies that we talked about. So overall, this set of features that digital text has and can have, we should say, a lot of times it takes software to support those features. But nonetheless, having those features can provide a rich set of tools to support tasks like comprehension. As we move forward in considering some specific digital text options, we go back to the Do It model, and we're going to be outlining alternatives and identifying needed resources and considering the impact. We have 5 different types of digital text to consider. The first is user-created text. The second is user-scanned text. The third are finding documents on the internet. The fourth is consumer formats like the iPad or the Kindle. And the fifth is repository documents. There are large libraries of digital text being built currently and can provide options for acquiring digital text. So we're going to take a look at some of these alternatives. You have this document called Digital Text Options, which is available to you, and it overviews the types of resources and a description of those resources and some of the basic benefits and limitations of those options. You can use this for the rest of the webcast and to help you consider digital text in the future. Creating your own text. This is all about doing it yourself and all about customization. Now you can start with various resources such as textbooks or web articles, or you could just author your own text. Now there's some great benefits. You can use software you're familiar with like PowerPoint or Keynote. You can create highly customized and flexible text. You can really build it how you'd like to. Oftentimes this software is already owned, or free options are available. Now the limitations are also significant. It can be very time and labor intensive. You might have some copyright concerns using various multimedia, and you might also have accessibility issues with creating your own text and using various softwares and having to put together a customized accessibility package for various students. Some of the tools for creating your own text you're already familiar with, most likely. Tools such as the suite of products from Microsoft, the Office package, Word and PowerPoint being the most popular. Other tools you might be just learning about or have heard about, such as CAS UDL Book Builder or the excellent Tar Heel Reader. Let's take a look at a few of these selections. I can adapt this social studies text using a program like PowerPoint or Keynote. Here's how. I can type in a title for the text. I can add some media, like an image. Arrange it how I would like, and successively add pages. I can add in my text. And add some more media like another image or a video. I can even hyperlink words to an onboard dictionary I could create at the end of the slideshow like this. I can add the definition here. And then I can go back and link that definition in by just enabling a hyperlink, and I can go to slide 3 in this case. And then you can see when I play the slideshow, if I click on the hyperlink, it'll take me to the glossary and dictionary. So there's a lot more I can do with adding text-to-speech, or adding recorded speech, or video, or any kind of animations to highlight a principle in the text, but just shows that it's a simple tool that you probably know something about, PowerPoint or Keynote, or another slideshow tool that you can use to adapt text. The Tar Heel Reader is a simple way to adapt books. I can type in a keyword like shark, and it'll search Flickr, and I'll find all these different images to draw from. Then you can select an image and add text and order your pages, and then it automatically creates a book that is switch accessible using the right and left arrows, and you can enable text-to-speech. In the preview, it doesn't allow you to enable text-to-speech, so I'll just go here and show you. So I can search for other books about sharks, and you can see here I can enable text-to-speech.
The whale shark.
And turn the pages either selecting the button or, like I said, with the arrows.
The whale shark is very gentle. Sea divers take rides on them.
And that's the Tar Heel Reader. A simple way to adapt books, but very effective, very powerful. And then this is all on the internet.
The whale shark is the whale shark.
Additionally, we can go in and export it as a PowerPoint file, an OpenOffice Impress file, or as a Flash file. Along with creating your own text, another digital text option is to scan in text you own using an optical scanner. Now, the benefits are that this enables that conversion of print text that you might already own to these flexible digital formats. And then you get all the benefits of having a digital format where you can use robust software packages to access these texts. Now, some of the limitations that really apply to this is that to digital or scanning in your own digital text, or that it can be highly time and labor intensive, very similar to creating your own text. And some of the results can be imperfect, and you'll have to refine those results, meaning the optical character recognition and the scanning might have to be fixed. And some of the software to do this can be relatively expensive. So you can see this process here of scanning your own text. We simply take a paper text, put it in the flatbed scanner, and use software to convert that page by page. Here you can see a video of that process.
Both special needs and vision impaired students benefit from Kurzweil 3000's scanning capabilities, combining the highest quality optical character recognition software available with an equivalent level of text-to-speech. Print documents are reproduced with the exact layout and formatting found in the original. Whether it's a quiz, test, or reading assignment, the integrity of the formatted document is maintained. Text is read out loud with near-human speech quality.
New computers work faster,
helping students transition from digital text to traditional print-based texts with ease.
While it's terrific that we can bring our paper text into digital formats through scanning and software, sometimes we have to fix errors in that process, as you can see here. Along with creating your own text and scanning your own text, you can find digital text on the internet. There's a lot of benefits, such as a lot of times these web-based texts are free. They're already in a digital format, and we have robust tools such as Google and Google Scholar to find these resources in an easier and easier way. Now, some of the limitations are that the format we find or the text we find might be relatively fixed, such as a web page or some sort of formatted PDF document. And key content that we really need for the student, such as textbooks, might not be available. So we'd have to find other ways. When we think of digital text on the internet, the classic example is Wikipedia. Yet there's so much more. There are specific sites for various topics. Some of the ones you can think about for children are sites like National Geographic, Scholastic News, but it goes on and on. We can access various digital texts over the whole internet. Things like Wikipedia, so we can search for a social studies article. Here we can search for Martin Luther King. We find an article here. We can either export it as a PDF using various tools on the Mac. You can just print it and then save it as a PDF. We could also just copy and paste it, so we could grab text. So sources like Wikipedia have various entries. There's various websites, educational websites like Scholastic News Online. Here we could learn about a cobra snake being captured, and you can see another article. We could read it right from the web. Whoops. Or we could, copy and paste text again. Now, usually built into the operating systems, we can search for terms, or we could speak things.
Egyptian.
So Scholastic News, another similar site is National Geographic Kids. Here we could learn about coral reefs. Now, some of these things are more media heavy, but there's usually on a lot of educational sites like this a news section where they will have articles. So here you can see an article. So digital texts on the internet. So far we've talked about creating your own text, scanning your own text, as well as digital text on the internet. Another option is accessing these digital texts that are in consumer formats. Now, that's using software or web-based tools and a mixture of some of the new hardware like tablets to download and access books. And these are things like the iPad and iBooks, Amazon's Kindle, and Barnes & Noble's Nook. So some of the benefits are that these texts are available widely and sometimes for free. It has an inclusive factor in that some of these tools are very cool and very socially accepted. And some of the tools have accessibility features built into the software and hardware, like Apple's iOS has VoiceOver, which is a text-to-speech tool. The limitations can also include areas of accessibility. There can be limits on accessibility features depending on the various hardware and software you're using, such as Amazon's Kindle has disabled some of the text-to-speech tools per order of the publishers. And that many of these texts cost money and then have a limitation on how they can be used, shared, and recycled. To show some of the images and the iconic images, we think of typically the Amazon Kindle and the iPad as the two most popular tools for reading text in consumer formats. Digital texts are available in consumer formats, like Apple's iOS, and their software is called iBooks.
The iBooks app opens to a beautiful bookshelf. To start reading, just pick a book from the shelf, and it fills the screen. Reading on iPad 2 is just like reading a paper book. You even flip through pages. But iBooks offers so much more. Tap here to change the text size. You can even choose a different font. If you want to look up a particular word, just use the built-in English dictionary. Tap here to type in a word, and iBooks shows you everywhere that it appears in the book. Or even look it up on the web. Highlight a section so you can refer to it quickly later on. Or add your own notes as you read. Use the table of contents to jump right to any chapter with a simple tap. And when you stop reading, iBooks remembers exactly where you were, so you can pick up right where you left off, with all of your highlights and personal notes intact.
So you can see a lot of features of digital text accessible through iBooks. Along with Apple's iBooks, the Amazon Kindle is wildly popular, and you can see here that the software is available on computers, various mobile devices, and of course on the actual Kindle. So that's from Amazon. And then Barnes & Noble is the other popular provider with the Nook, and you can see here very similar to the Kindle, kind of a cross between the Kindle and the iPad in some ways, this newest one. So there you have it, digital text available in consumer formats, the Kindle, the Nook, and the iPad or iPhone or iPod Touch. So we've worked systematically through digital text options, again, creating your own text and scanning your own text. We talked about how those can really provide great ways to customize and use what you have, yet they have limitations as being time intensive and labor intensive. We talked about the benefits of digital text on the internet, that they're widely available, oftentimes available for free. And we talked about limitations there, that sometimes we can't find the content we need, such as textbooks. We just looked at digital text in consumer formats and the social inclusion factor, as well as some of the wide availability benefits and the associated limitations on accessibility. Additionally, we have this really fantastic set of resources which we'll call digital text repositories. Now this is fairly new in a lot of ways, but it dates back to the organizations supporting individuals who were blind, and the storage and systematic sharing of audiobooks, books on tape, and also books put into Braille formats. And so we have that as a heritage. The new tools have these large amount of text, and they can be obtained quickly because they're in a digital format, and those are huge benefits. And a lot of these repositories are free for individuals who qualify, or at a very low cost, or a subsidized cost. Now, there's also limitations in that there can be some bureaucracy involved with signing up for these systems, which can provide a barrier, and oftentimes the formats can have limited access to to photos and multimedia. Some of the popular digital text repositories are Benetext's Bookshare, the Reading for the Blind and Dyslexic, and the Accessible Book Collection. Bookshare is one of the fantastic new resources. It's a digital text repository that U.S. students can currently sign up for free if they have a qualifying print disability. Bookshare operates under a special exception to the U.S. copyright law. And this allows this copyright digital text, such as a textbook, to be made available to people with these qualifying disabilities. And now Bookshare, because of their financed operation, they got a large grant from the US government. They're able to provide this service for free and provide a robust set of texts. They're in the tens of thousands, and it goes up every week. So this resource, you can see, compared to scanning your own text, is going to save a lot of time. And because it's building, it's providing a wide range of accessible texts for many different individuals in the US. You can also sign up for it if you have a qualifying disability and you're not a student. It's a small fee for that service as well. So to understand what the eligibility criteria for Bookshare membership is, you can watch this short video, and it shows a lot of great things about what Bookshare is doing and who's eligible. For more comprehensive resources about Bookshare, you can look at their Getting Started overview. We now shift back to looking at Sarah. What would this look like for Sarah? Well, we talked about this clear task of reading with comprehension and looking for supports for that. We have that text, that social studies text, and we're going to now consider specifically some of the tools. In the Do It model, we're going to now identify needed resources and impact. Now that can be looking at the cost of getting some of these resources and being prepared to purchase those when appropriate, and looking at training for the individual and for the team supporting that individual, looking at all the needed resources and impacts so that we're ready to make our decision. The next step in the process is we're going to take action. We've outlined alternatives. We're trying to match those alternatives to the goal for this individual student. And the action we've chosen to take is to try the Kurzweil software with Sarah. Now, we chose that because it's a robust tool set for accessing digital text. It supports a wide range of components and strategies that will help Sarah in the reading comprehension process. And with that, we're going to try it, and we're going to collect data. We're going to observe her usage and see where she needs assistance with training and coaching. We may take some quantitative data with chapter quizzes and certain readings that she has. We could look at vocabulary and content comprehension. We might also probe Sarah's like and dislike of the technology. Is it working easily for her? Last, we're going to look at some application level assessment to see if this is really making a difference at a broader level for Sarah. It could be writing, synthesizing tasks, as well as application level tasks. For more information about the resources seen in this webcast, you can access them from the Assistive Technology for Educators blog at Penn State. Some of the specific resources to pay attention to from the blog are resources from CAST. They're the inventors of the term UDL. Another resource to pay attention to at the Assistive Technology for Educators blog is this resource chock full of free digital text tools. It's called the UDL Tech Toolkit, and it's at Wikispaces, a free wiki tool, and you can look for that on the blog. Again, for more information, you can go to the blog, and thank you for listening to this webcast on such an important topic.